Welcome to the not Poker Life. Welcome to the Poker Tube sponsored conversation with Matt Savage. Matt is the founding member of the Tournament Directors Association. He's the executive tour director and presenter at the World Poker Tour. He's the tournament director for Commerce Casino, Bay 101, and Thunder Valley. He has bowled 25 300 games. And he enjoys golf and answering all of your poker rulings on Twitter at Savage Poker. Welcome, Matt Savage.
Glad to be here, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you. Lot of things to cover today. First of all, the Twitter thing, the oversized chip rule. What's the deal with the oversized chip rule?
Well, it's a pretty standard rule, but the thing is that, I get the question all the time, which means there's players out there that don't know what the rule is or understand it. And because of that, I got to keep answering it. Usually I just answer it to them directly, but every once in a while I throw it out for everybody to see, because just to let people know that there's still some people that don't understand that, which is a good thing. I mean, it means that more people are coming into the game if I see that rule more and more often.
Absolutely. So as an example, blinds are 1 in 200. I'm in the small blind. I throw out a $500 chip.
That's just a call.
What? 600 chips?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. If you remove the other chip, you have to put them out together for it to be a raise. That's the way it works.
Okay, so even the slightest difference, if I put the 500 chip on top of the 100, picked it up and dropped it a half an inch, it's now a raise.
That is now a raise. That's correct.
But you flick it in, midair, drops, just a call.
That is correct.
Okay.
You got it. You're ready to play poker.
I'm glad we got that cleared up. I know that's one of the most common questions you get on Twitter. I always get a kick out of that when it says, "Yep, man, oversized chip. It's not a raise." And I could see a lot of people get confused with that.
Definitely.
Upon doing my research, I was pretty amazed that you have 25 300 games.
Okay.
I've got one sanctioned or non-sanctioned 300 game, okay, and I have a 299 during Cosmic Bowling, which was devastating.
That's a good score.
Do you feel the rush after the first, say, 10 300 games goes away?
Well, some of those are, like you said, not sanctioned. So, a lot of them, we used to bowl a lot of pot games and things that, practicing and all of those other things. So I have 4 sanctioned 300s. I have a 299 sanctioned as well. They used to sanction those back in the day, but yeah, I mean, it was a part of my life that I really enjoyed. But as you try to decide if you're going to become a professional or not, you have to make that decision if you're going to make enough money. And it was one of those things you just couldn't make enough money at the time. But I enjoyed doing it. I still would probably enjoy doing more. But as of right now, I'm not doing any bowling or much bowling. My golf game, which is terrible also, but I enjoy getting outside now. So that's the main thing. I'm working so many hours and traveling so much. I enjoy getting outside.
You say your golf game is terrible. I don't know. That sounds a little bit like a hustle.
No, it's not a hustle. It's gone bad. I broke my ribs in Calgary actually earlier this year, and I was trying to do this weight bet as well. I have a weight bet loss with Josh Aryeh and a few friends of mine, Scott Buller and Mike O'Malley. So I lost some weight, and when I came back to play golf after my rib injury, I'd lost distance off my swing, and it's been bad. But I'm hoping to rebound. My golf tournament's coming up at the end of May, so I'm looking forward to that and hopefully do some damage there.
Oh, well, okay. I believe you. I might know my tax guy might go to a golf outing you host once a year.
Yeah.
You know Randy?
Yeah, I do. I do know Randy.
Okay. Yeah, he says it's always a good time.
It is always a good time. He's coming to my event. So he has a good time, and we just ordered shirts today. So that was a big project for the day.
Oh, custom shirts for the outing?
Yes.
Nice. I just got in the custom t-shirt business myself with my YouTube vlogging channel. couple slogans. It's been going pretty well.
Cool.
I have a general question that I may have briefly brought up to you on Twitter, but I want to know what everybody's opinion is on this.
Okay.
A certain Las Vegas casino that starts with the letter V, they have a rule where in case of a three-way all-in, the dealer must first count down the smallest stack and make a side pot before revealing the hands and then running out the board. The floor said this way it eliminates error and confusion. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I don't agree with that. I know Tommy LaRosa pretty well this year's TDA Summit, but the biggest chip stack and they win, count those pots down, and obviously it makes it easier and quicker. And I'm all about making poker quicker if you don't do it that way. So yeah, I'll have a little conversation with Tommy about that.
Excellent. Yeah, is that a specific TDA rule, or it's a casino by casino discretion thing?
That would be a casino by casino discretion. That's not a TDA rule for sure.
Okay, because yeah, I agree 100%. Just run it out. Usually the big stack wins anyway. They get all the chips. Why people are eager to gamble and see what happens. They don't want to have the dealer make 3 side pots before they run it out and then distribute the side pots when there is no side action.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not sure why he's doing it that way. Really am.
Okay. Yeah, I've asked a couple times and I get the same answer. So maybe they can change that before their big summer series, and I think it'll be better for everyone.
Yeah, they are having a huge summer series, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I saw that schedule. It looks twice as big, just nonstop action.
Yeah, amazing.
All right. Another common problem I see is when people say the blinds are 100, 200, someone throws out a 500 chip and just whispers to the dealer, raise. Action folds around, and usually a guy with headphones says, is that a raise or a call? Same thing at 200, 400, someone throws out a 1K chip. They don't know if they limp. They don't know if it's a raise. Is there a way to make this not as confusing and not slow down the game?
Well, I think the dealer, when this happens, the dealer should announce, with the oversized chip, the dealer should announce how much the bet is.
Okay.
And that's the only time I'm going to ask dealers to do that. But I think that that's something that's already on our list to discuss this year, because we never want dealers to be involved with the action. But at the same time, if people are throwing out oversized chips and making it a smaller amount, I think that needs to be announced by the dealer. And so we're going to try and get that through at the TDA this year, because I think it's important. Even though people are wearing headphones and I don't have much tolerance for that, I still think that it needs to be done. And if the player at that point makes a mistake, it's on the person wearing the headphones. It's not the player's responsibility anymore.
All right. Speaking of headphones, can you tell us a little bit about the social experiment MTT you recently ran, banning electronic devices, hoodies, sunglasses, and headphones?
Yeah, it actually hasn't happened yet. It's happening in 2 weeks at the Commerce Casino, April 29th. Put a little plug out there. It is the social experiment. There is no hoods, no sunglasses, no headphones, and no electronic devices allowed at the table. So we will have an area marked in the tournament room that people can go outside of. And again, you can use those phones anytime during the tournament you want. You just can't use them at the table. If you do that, you're going to get a penalty. And I think it's going to be interesting to see, because it's for the social experiment, to see if people will start talking to each other again and stop getting off their devices. Now, that being said, I am one of the biggest offenders of that. So it would be tough for me to play that event, but I would look forward to it because I think it would be different. And it is an experiment. It's a one-off event. We're not doing it over and over again, but we will probably do it again if this one is successful. I think it will be successful. One of the things we're doing to make sure it is successful is putting a big guarantee on it, 100,000 guarantee at a 350 buy-in, and giving people a lot of chips. So it's one of those events where even people that say, I can't be off my devices while I play, say, well, damn, they're giving 30,000 in chips. I got to show up anyway.
Wow. I would love to join that event. I don't think I'll be able to make it to California. What casino is that at?
That's at the Commerce.
The Commerce, 350 buy-in, 100,000 guaranteed.
Yes, that's correct.
Wow.
It's a 2-day event.
Sounds like a great event to try out. Should be a different meta game for sure. People might just start tilting because they can't get on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends of mine that say they couldn't possibly play it. They can't play without sunglasses. They can't play without their hood because it's cold. They can't do this. They can't play because they have to watch movies. They have to listen to music. You know, all those things that just seems kind of ridiculous that we're in this day and age where you can't actually play a poker tournament where you have to have those things in front of you.
I agree. Eric Hillerman in the chat asks, when is poker getting a shot clock?
Well, we just had a shot clock, Eric. It was at the Tournament Champions. That's the same one we used last year, and it was awesome. It was the players that all played and that loved it. One of the things that you have to do in those events that I think is important is that you have to have great dealers. And so a lot of times, you know, as we're traveling around, all the dealers that we have are not the best. They have great dealers at Seminole Hard Rock down in Florida, which made it easier for us to run the event. But it was also a smaller event with all, you know, qualified players that had won Champions Club membership in our WPT events. So they all kind of knew what they were doing. So again, if you have a bunch of amateurs playing as well or recreational players, it might be a little tougher, but it did work. I would definitely love to see more of it. The problem is that people get intimidated by a shot clock, think that that's going to affect their game a lot more than it actually does. It actually made the game better, smoother, and it ran, you know, more efficiently. And we didn't have any issues at all. So my plans are to have more shot clock events for sure. Where that we're not sure yet, but you know, protection poker and that action clock that we had down at Seminole Hard Rock worked really well. It was actually a very, very good event.
Yeah, it's just like speed chess. It's just going to be more exciting and more action packed for everybody.
Yeah, Julius, people can wear hats in the social experiment. That is not a problem.
Hats, and you can wear hoodies. They just can't be fully up.
Correct.
Okay.
As you wear where's your sunglasses? You have your hoodie, you have your headphones.
Yeah, no.
You're on your phone, you know.
True. Speaking of sunglasses, I recently bought a pair of spectacles, which are the Snapchat version, where if you click a button for 10 seconds, it'll record live to your phone, whatever you're viewing. Would these be legal at your tournaments?
I'd say no, because recently I just had a tournament at Bay 101 where I actually gave a penalty to Noah Schwartz because he asked me if he could take a picture of somebody, and it was Dan O'Brien. Well, he was in a hand with him because Dan O'Brien was staring him down, and Noah is kind of a, you know, affable, quick-talking guy. He didn't really appreciate getting the stare down, so he wanted to take a picture of him. I said no, and this is actually on the bubble of our $7,500 event. And I said, no, he couldn't do it. And he asked me again. I said, no, you cannot. And then all of a sudden he started doing something with his phone and taking a picture. And I said, all right, you're going to be on a penalty. He goes, why am I going to be on a penalty? I wasn't taking a picture. I was Snapchatting. I'm like, well, you know, it's kind of the same thing as we were just talking about. And so he was taking a video of him because he was getting tired of him staring at him. And, you know, while I can understand why somebody wouldn't want somebody staring at him and doing that delay, you know, you got to follow the rules also. So I think taking videos of people in a casino, in most casinos, that's not even allowed at all. So during a poker tournament, I would say that'd probably not be allowed either.
Absolutely. I agree. I spoke with the Win floor about electronic devices like the Snapchat glasses, and they said it's pretty much the same thing as a casino rule, that they don't want recording devices at blackjack tables, anything like that. They haven't had any problem with my vlogs because I don't film people at the table or use their likeness. So I'm not invading anybody's privacy or making them feel uncomfortable. I'll just take a video of my chip stack or me walking and talking through the casino. But as long as I'm not singling anybody out, they said they don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, cool. I mean, obviously, social media has grown the game of poker. There's no doubt about it. So, you know, the fact that there is all of this out there and the information is so easy to access is a good thing. It's a good thing for me. It's made my life easier for advertising events. And, you know, obviously it's free advertising as well, as long as you put it out. But I think it's important to note that a lot of these casinos do have policies in place which doesn't allow people to use those devices to videotape or take pictures of other people.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Once again, very logical breakdown from Matt Savage. I've been at tables where there's a ruling discrepancy where two players feel that the floor made the wrong ruling, and they'll often say, "Well, let's call another floor over here. He might make a different ruling." How do you handle situations like this? And should you be able to get multiple rulings from multiple floor guys in a casino?
Well, I'm in the tournament area pretty much any time that I'm running an event, so I have no problem with that happening. Usually, when I go to the table, I'll listen to the floor person first to explain what it is. Usually I back that floor person as long as they've done the right thing. And, it does happen from time to time, but, luckily I've trained the floor people that I work with year after year. So, they pretty much know all the rules that I have in place. And that's a good thing. It makes it much easier for me that I don't have to come and overrule somebody. But that has happened in the past. I have had to overrule people, and it's just part of the job. And again, I don't mind doing that because I think that being a responsible TD entails some of that. So I'm a big fan of being able to get the highest person in the room to answer if you have a different issue or you think that the issue wasn't handled correctly.
Okay. I've also been at tables before where what they felt was a bad ruling happened, and they've wanted to side bet on what Matt Savage would rule on Twitter, put money on the table, tweet at Matt Savage, and find out the outcome. Have you ever overturned a ruling live at a different casino when you're not even there?
Well, there's been some things. First of all, I get questions all the time. People say I have a bet, and I want to start charging 10% of the bets because some of the bets have been as big as 5,000.
Wow.
For people that are betting on these rulings. And so, yeah, I've been an officiant of this, of these kind of things over and over again. And it's interesting because, people are sitting there waiting, for there are a lot of $100 bets, a lot of, bigger bets have taken place. So, yeah, I don't mind doing that. But at the same time, I don't want to be involved with other casinos making things that people send me questions and then I answer, and it's not the same ruling they got. And then they go, see, look, this is what Matt Savage said. Look what he said. He said, you're wrong, and basically calling out the floor person. So I don't appreciate that. It's actually caused some problems for me in the past to where, people get upset with me. Other TDs get upset when they find out that I've overruled what they've ruled. But again, that usually comes back to them asking me why, and then maybe them changing their ruling in the future, which is, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It doesn't make everybody happy. It's caused me problems in the past. Actually, Jack Effel didn't talk to me for a year because I made a decision on a tournament, which I didn't know was a World Series of Poker event. It was actually over in Europe, but he came back and, he was upset because I said something that was against what they were doing currently.
Wow. Well, you have to look at it in the positive that people look at you as the number one end all be all source for the official ruling.
Well, I mean, that's a good place to be, I guess, for me. I think it's, it's been an honor to get some of the things and accolades that I've gotten. But at the same time, I think that, my goal is to get more people into the game and help new people learn the game. So I'm not trying to piss anybody off, that's for sure.
Okay. As far as getting more people in the game and more comfortable at the tables, one of the rulings that has been kind of controversial is the early exposure ruling, and people get the 1-round penalty just because they showed their hand too early in an all-in situation when there's another player. How can we make this so it doesn't embarrass people that didn't do it maliciously?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of doing that. I think a lot of people will tell you that in my tournaments, I don't give as many penalties as maybe others do because it's a lot of that's a gray area. If it does affect action, I am going to give a penalty. So that's basically my thing. If it doesn't affect action, let's say a guy shows his hand early where it doesn't, the fact that he showed it still led to the player calling. It doesn't affect the action. I'm not going to give a penalty. And, one of those things that has made it tough with the TDA is that, again, we are talking about every tournament around the world all the time, whether it's a $20 daily tournament or, you know, a $100,000 high roller. So, you know, trying to get everybody to do the same thing all the time is difficult. So when I'm running my events, it's easier for me to give more latitude to people that are doing things that aren't affecting action. Whereas, you know, somebody that I'm trying to have them teach their players how to play correctly by the rules, you know, they may be a little tougher on the rules than I would be. And it makes it difficult for the TDA to regulate, you know, every situation across the world. But at the same time, I think it makes it better for the players if they're learning the rules, and, you know, if they're getting penalties, it's because they've done something wrong. And obviously you don't want to embarrass anybody. And I'm excited, you know, and hope that they don't embarrass other people. But, you know, I guess you just got to play more of my events.
Absolutely. Matt Savage run events are world renowned. People go out of their way to attend them in the California area. California Swing is always a huge success. So you're saying discretion is a big part of just knowing the player from if they're capable of angle shooting or if it's an honest mistake. It can't just be cut and dry. These are the rules. You're gonna use a little logic and reasoning before making a decision.
Definitely. And, you know, another one of those rules is like we're checking the nuts on the river. You know, most of the time that's people making a mistake, and it's not people that are trying to do something malicious. And that's why, you know, sometimes I'll just go to the table. I go, "What are you doing?" And they'll instantly blurt out, "Well, he's a friend of mine." Well, then that's a problem, right? That's a problem. Or, you know, I didn't want to bust him, or they were down to their last few chips, or something like that. If that happens, then it's snap penalty. But if it's something that, oh, I didn't see that I had a flush, or, you know that there's four spades on the board, I didn't know I had, you know, the deuce of spades or the ace of spades or whatever. You know what I mean? I didn't know that my ace was a spade. I'm probably not going to give a penalty in that spot.
Okay, fair.
Putting chapstick on because somebody said I need chapstick.
Some haters in the chat. It'll happen. Most of the comments
right.
are nice.
Well, I know I need chapstick. I got to drink more water.
Fair enough. One of the seems like it's newer rules, which is often awkward. If there's an all-in in the call on the river, both hands must be revealed. A lot of times, dealers just don't even know this rule. So they are about to muck one hand, and I speak up and say, "You got to show that hand," and I'm the bad guy. Is there a better way of dealing with this other than just pounding it into the dealer's heads? All in the call, have to show both hands, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, obviously, it's a tough one. I'm happy that you're speaking up and trying to get those dealers trained the correct way. And it is something that we do need to do a better job of as TDs and as tournament staff, to get the dealers to understand that and make sure that that's not happening, because I do see that quite often. And it is, you know, unfortunate that those guys that are saying things like yourself are turning out to be the bad guy.
Yeah, you can feel just the animosity, especially if the person is getting knocked out. Like, why do I have to show my hand? He just lost, you know. Just let him muck his hand, bro. I'm like, no, that's the rule. I'm like, oh yeah, look at this rule.
It is a rule, and it's protecting those players that maybe don't know that maybe they have a hand or not. But it's basically a protection for that, and for collusion and anything that comes up like that. It's you know, to protect those players and to protect the game.
Yeah, it could be a chip dump, and once the hands are revealed, you'll have better information if they were chipped up into their buddy, so they can just re-enter. Or who knows what the situation is? If this player has a huge prop bet, they need to win this tournament. Who knows?
Correct.
Yeah, it comes up pretty often, and you know, at times I bit my tongue and just moved on to the next hand. There's been times where the people forcibly muck their hand just to spite me, so they don't have to show their hand. Like, no, it's in the muck, it's dead. And it's like, come on, it just creates a very hostile environment where if the dealer just automatically flips it over, no problem.
Yeah, and for sure, you know, a lot of those spots, you know, people think that hands are dead, but they're actually not. If the hand's still retrievable, even though they've thrown it forward, it's still a live hand in that spot for sure.
Very good. It's pretty rare, but have you ever dealt with an artificially chipping up culprit? A person that already has numerous 2500s, 500s, and they always throw in a big denomination chip for the ante, or they're blind just so they get chips back to build their stack artificially?
Yeah, I try and stop that as easily as possible. And I may be the TD that advocates coloring up more than anybody. So I just handle them at the break.
Very good. Very good. It's pretty obnoxious.
Those type of players aren't able to use that very often in my events. And it's one of those things that I think that more TDs have grown to do what I do, which is coloring it more often. Because not only does it slow down the game when you have all those huge chip stacks in front of you, but it makes it harder for the other players to count. It makes it harder for the dealer to count. And again, slowing down the game is something I'm trying to avoid and change. I want the game moving along quicker. It makes the structures better. It makes more play. It makes it more fun for others that they're not having to wait for those dealers to count down those huge chip stacks every time. So I try and do my best to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay. Going back to shot clocks, you said it shouldn't be too tough if the dealers just know how to operate them. Is that done on like an egg timer or an iPad?
We used iPads. Protection Poker has an iPad that they put together, and it's pretty simple. It's 3 buttons, I think, for the dealers to press at all times, and a pause button, a start button, and a extended time button. It works great. But we have also used what you would call like a chess clock as well at Commerce, and it also works. So anything to get the game going, I think, is a good thing. And hopefully we can use more shot clocks, action clocks, but at the same time, I don't think it's probably useful in all events. Now we have. It's funny that when we have professional events, like the bigger buy-ins, that the stalling and the tanking is a bigger issue than when we have these amateur events. Like we run, $75 events where people aren't out there tanking or taking too much time. We hardly ever have clock calls in those events. It's just the bigger buy-ins where we seem to have the issues. So, I think it's something that the recreational player enjoys a quicker pace and, again, more of the talk at the table, which I'm okay with. So I think it's maybe we just need to use it in the bigger events, and hopefully we'll see more of it.
Absolutely. It's all about a more enjoyable environment for the customers.
Correct.
On Twitter, when you were talking about shot clocks, you said it's about 90% of the time people fold when you're doing the countdown. Is that correct?
Oh, it's at least 90%. I mean, I the last few events, because after I said that, I wanted to see, and I can think of one occasion where the person called, and it was outside of the last 10 seconds. Every single time it got into the last 10 seconds, the player folded. And, that's the other thing that we're going to bring up this year's TDA Summit is a minute too much time. You're already waited, how many minutes he calls to the table. Now it takes an extra maybe minute for the floor to get over to the table. So when you get to the table, do they really need another full minute? It's too long. So I'd like to see that number go down to 30 seconds. And we're going to discuss that at this year's TDA Summit and see if we can get that to happen.
I agree. I've called more clocks on people than probably 99% of the population. Sometimes even the dealer says to the floor that the player hasn't had enough time. How much weight do you put in the dealer's discretion of what a fair amount of time is when the floor gets called over? Because that's the first.
Yeah, I agree. I think that needs to be asked of the dealer. Has the player had enough time? And I can get a grasp of it by not only looking at the dealer, but the other players at the table. Like other players at the table may step in, hey, he's only had a minute or something like that. But what that may indicate is that this player is taking a long time every decision. So, you have to look at all of those scenarios differently. And again, I think that, speeding the game up is something that's going to have to happen at some point because it's just in certain situations has gotten out of hand.
Okay. And how would you deal with a habitual staller approaching the money bubble?
I speed those players up. I just tell them, hey, look, you're taking too much time, and then you end up babysitting that player. and then they will say, oh, I had a tough decision or whatever. But as long as you're somebody over there watching those people, and again, you're on the bubble, so you're going to have floor people around, and hopefully you're watching that real close as a tournament staff. So if you can get those players moving along, and I think some of it's a respect thing too. You know, if the players respect you as the TD, they respect you as the floor staff, you're not going to do those things. You're not going to take those shots off. A lot of time underdoing again. It's got to be fair and fun.
Okay, Matt, I think I'm losing connection with you. Your voice kind of slowed down there.
Yeah, I can see you. I can see and hear you.
Oh, okay. But we got most of that. And little questions from the chat. You already talked about the social experiment. Bo Sizzler would love to hear Matt's opinion on outing poker scammers. I remember you kind of went there a little bit when I believe Chino and E-Dog placed 1 and 2 in a $1 million first place tournament. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
It's good research, and that's a good interview. You should check it out. Chino Ream and I talked after he won and Eric finished second. You know, it's one of those things that for me, I don't understand how these guys continue to get money. I mean, if that information is available. So, you know, making that information available is probably important, but at the same time, you know, you got to give people a chance to make good on their payments also. If somebody makes an agreement to make a payment at a certain time and they don't do it, you know, if they don't make payments exactly when they say they are, sometimes it takes a little more time. So, I mean, do you go right away and report it out there? Some people would like that. I don't see that as being something that should be done, but I also understand if you're owed or if agreement is made and broken, I understand why people go to social media. I mean, I wish it wouldn't happen because it just gives poker another black eye, but at the same time, I understand why they do it.
Okay. I could hear you fine there, but for some reason your video is gone.
And I can see my video fine too. So
you can see your video. Let's see if chat can see your video. How's you're on your iPhone? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm on my iPhone.
Okay, and the receptions, the bars are pretty good.
Yep, I'm on Wi-Fi, so it should be good.
Let's chat real quick. The black screen.
I just turn my video on and off. Don't know why. There we go. Yeah. I think we're back.
Let's see. Yeah, it's just the pick of your standard pick right now.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing your picture on the video either.
Okay, well, we're still, as long as we can hear you, that's the most important. We know what Matt Savage looks like. He's a beautiful human being.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a great answer to the Chino E-Dog scenario. It's a fine. Doug Polk did a video about outing scammers recently, where it's a two-sided coin. Are they going to pay? Is it better to warn others that not to lend this person money, as opposed to just ignore the problem? And it's overall bad for poker to let people know there's X amount of scammers out there, and it's going to bring less new people into the game.
Yeah, I haven't seen that video from Doug, but yeah, I mean, it's happened. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. It's happened multiple times, and we're in an industry where it's going to happen. So I mean, it happens in everyday life. People default and go bankrupt, and things happen in that respect. So it's not like it's just limited to the poker industry, but you don't see people going out and saying, you don't see Macy's coming out and saying, hey, this guy scammed us and didn't pay us. So it's one of those things where we're such a small community that when something like that happens and word gets out, that people are going to know about it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's sad at the same time. I just hate to see recreational players at the World Series, just getting abused by known pros just because they know them from TV, but they don't know their real history of just not paying back debts. And they're like, "Oh, spot me 5K to play this 10K. I'm good for it. You know me. I'm Chino. I'm on TV. I've won millions."
Yeah, I'm
When in
hoping that's
reality,
not happening with him anymore. I'm hoping that's not happening at all. But it's one of those things where those guys have been around for years, so we know that that's happened, and the whole full tilt issue is just another one that was a sad one actually. Because I just don't feel like those guys ever intended for that to go down that way, and when all the money disappeared, it just seemed, and the pipeline got shut off. It made it tough for them too. So it wasn't like they were intentionally trying to scam anybody, but it just happened that way.
yeah, full tilt Ponzi scheme, payment processors, a lot behind that. Hard to know who to blame, but it just I don't know, it still kind of irks me just seeing Howard and Jesus walk around like nothing was done wrong. It'd be like someone stealing money from you and showing up at your house party, just being like, "What's up, guys? What's going on?"
Well, like I said, it's not. These guys are, I haven't talked to them in a while, but they, were friends of mine, and they tried to do a lot right for the poker industry at the time. So, and like I said, I don't think that was ever their intention of that going down that way. But yeah, it was pretty bad. That's for sure.
Okay. Eric asks, "What do you think about Will Kassouf and his speech play? Acceptable? Out of line?"
First of all, it's not called speech play; it's table talk, and it's been around forever. He's come up with some new word that I've, whatever. It's not speech play; it's table talk.
Okay.
Yeah, look, the guy had his 15 minutes. He's kind of disappeared now.
Yeah.
And that comes and goes. People come and go. But he seems like a nice guy. Off the table, whatever. At the table, he's probably fun to play with for a while, and then he becomes annoying. So trying to curtail it a little bit is probably a good idea. But again, we need characters in the game. I would really like to see more characters come back into the game. There's definitely some of the old school guys are the characters of the game that help poker grow to what it is today. So, I don't like the hoodies and headphones and looking at your phone and not talking completely. So I'd like to see some more of what Will Kassouf does come back to the game. So I have no problem with that. I have no problem or issue with what he does. Would I have handled it the same way? Probably not. But I would have told him to speed up. That's for sure. The guy was definitely way too slow.
Okay. I can respect that. He's just the very high end of the table talk. Maybe if the average player was about 30% of his level, it'd be perfect for a good situation.
Exactly. If you had a table talk switch where you could turn it down a little bit, it'd probably be pretty good.
Absolutely. I feel a silent table is just a boring, stressful, not fun table at all. People don't even want to be there. Time drags on. People play better. It's better to have a couple drinks, be sociable, talk to people about sports, religion, politics, anything, just to get people talking.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'd probably shy away from the politics these days.
Yeah, that's true. But something, their job, current issues, anything, just to be a little friendly environment instead of just dead silence staring at people. That's not good for amateurs or professionals.
Definitely, you should come out to the social experiment, man. I'm telling you, it's not very.
I might make it out. I might.
April 29th.
April 29th.
We'll let you do a blog from there. Come on out.
Oh, $350 buy-in, 100K guaranteed at what casino?
Commerce Casino, LA.
Commerce. Is that the biggest poker room in California?
It's the biggest poker room in the world, biggest live poker room in the world. They have 243 tables. So,
wow.
Yeah, pretty much all games going all the time.
And you'll be there for that tournament?
I will be there.
Wow. All right. I was wondering if you could name your top 3 pet peeves during tournament poker.
Well, they've grown over the years. The list has grown, but I think probably number one is these days, besides stalling, which is everybody's pet peeve, would be players that just throw racks and stuff on the floor. I don't understand. I've never understood that. I mean, you get to the table, and the first thing they do is they grab the rack that they were carrying their chips with and then toss it on the floor or throw it under the table or just throw it behind them, not realizing that, hey, somebody's got to come around and pick those up. You know, somebody could trip over that stuff, and I've tripped over racks before and stuff, but it's one of those things where it just, I don't understand it. I don't understand where that all came from, throwing the racks under the table. We know that people got to go over there and pick those things up at some point, right? It's just not, I mean, just give it to the dealer or, you know, put it on a table. We'll come around and get them. But that's just a pet peeve of mine. You know, obviously I think that I have others. Definitely the lack of interaction is another part of it. I think that people being on their phones all the time. And I said, I'm one of the biggest offenders. So that's probably another pet peeve of mine. But I have a few. But that's probably my biggest.
Okay. Yeah. I can easily see someone twisting an ankle by stepping on one of those. They're translucent. You bust. You just want to get out of there. You're not looking at the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you get moved to the table.
If it would just be the people that threw them on the floor, then it would be okay.
So you should just hand it to the dealer or a floor man as soon as you unrack your chips.
Put it on the table, whatever, you know.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your juicing weight loss program? Larry Pashik asks.
Hey, Larry, drink some now. I probably have the most unique diet that I'm doing right now, which is basically something Tim West taught me, and my wife helped me get through, which is basically putting leafy greens in a blender with a little bit of fruit, some berries or a banana or apple. Mixing that up, drinking that for breakfast and lunch, and then for dinner, just having anything, no carbs. I haven't had any carbs in a while. I went off it a little bit over at the Seminole Hard Rock for sure, but my diet basically consists of bacon and eggs for dinner, and that's what I eat. I eat bacon and eggs, steak and eggs, salmon, anything that doesn't have carbs. No rice, no potatoes, no things that I like. Bread. It's pretty tough. But I think you can slip a few days in doing it. And, you know, I went to the gym, not at all. I didn't go a single day for like 80 days and lost 30 pounds. So what you eat is way more important than going to the gym. But just now starting to get back into it because, again, I was coming off injury and, you know, starting to play golf again and I want to get into better shape. But definitely I think diet's the biggest part of it. But, again, had some weight loss bets with Josh Aryeh and my friends Mike O'Malley, Scott Buller, and a couple other people, Justin Hammer over at the Commerce. And I've already won 4 out of 5 of them. The only one that's outstanding is with Josh Aryeh, which I have to do right before the main event of the World Series. And excited to weigh in and take his money as well.
Wow, congratulations. That's quite the accomplishment, but it's a win-win. When you're eating good, feeling good, you'll naturally have more energy than eating a big, fat, greasy meal where you just don't even want to move.
That's true, but I do eat those big bacon and eggs, fat, greasy bacon and eggs every day. And,
true.
It works.
All right, hats off to that. It sounds like you got that figured out pretty nicely.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of live recently with the vlogs, Jeff Boski on YouTube. One thing for speeding up the game, this is minute, but just tell me if there's anything that can be done. I'm all in. You call my all in. The blinds fold. Now there's a pause. The dealer just waits and then says, "Okay, you can show your hands." And then the players wait a couple more seconds. And then one player slowly asks, like, "You got ace king?" The other one's like, "You got a pair?" And then the other one's like slowly reveals ace king, and the other one thinks for a couple seconds and shows the pair.
Right.
Is there any way we can speed up this process? I know there's all-in buttons, but can there be show cards? Show your hand in 2 seconds or it's dead? Anything like that?
No, it's probably not going to happen. But it's one of those things. Is like, just show your hands, guys.
Yeah.
It is annoying, and I can understand a player like yourself would get super annoyed by that. But it is something that happens. Obviously, if there's a floorman standing by, we want to say something to those players, like open their hands. But again, dealers are in a tough spot a lot of times. You know, they don't want to be too forceful with the players. They're the ones that are sitting there chatting with the players to try and get them to speed up. But at the same time, I think they need to be careful because they don't want to piss anybody off. So dealers are always in a tough spot in that situation.
Absolutely. Okay. And yeah, and a lot of times the guy will say, I called you. You show first. I was like, it doesn't matter. You both have to show. Just run it.
Exactly.
All right. Just about finishing up here. A few other things I wanted to mention. About 5 years ago, I attended the Bay 101 Shooting Star, $7,500 buy-in. I was lucky enough to make day 3, I believe. 9 people before the money. I busted out with top set versus a flush of Josh Aryeh, believe it or not.
Okay.
Pretty bummed. Had to book my flight for the next day. And then I found out through Jessica Wellman that there was a private jet option to sign up for. I couldn't believe it. I said, all right, sign me up. She said, it leaves tomorrow. I said, how much does it cost? She said, don't worry about it. I'm like, what? Like, who can I thank for such a great experience? I've never been on a private jet before. Turns out it was free. Just said thank you to Matt Savage. Well, got to ride on a private jet all the way to Las Vegas. There was drinks. There's celebrities on the jet. Kathy Liebert, Liv Borey, Antonio Esfandiari was the last one to board, and he had to sit in the bathroom because there was no more seats. We played Laden Thinks. It was a great time. No security, executive airport, out of there. Nope. Unforgettable experience. Is this still an option?
It is not still an option. They sold the jet because they're moving locations. So I think they needed us to use all the money they can for that. But it's definitely was an awesome experience. I took the jet myself a few times, as did my little son, hanging around here. He used to love that thing too. Yeah, it was fun, and I think that I would like to bring it back. So hopefully they will. But yeah, it was definitely a free option at the time, and so I'm sad to see it go.
Yeah, an experience I'll never forget. So thank you, Matt Savage, for making that happen.
You got it. I think that's the day I followed you on Twitter too.
Excellent. Yeah. On a more serious note, your relationship with Alan Kessler, is it a love-hate relationship? Has restraining orders been put on the table? What's the deal?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I've always liked Alan and thought that he cares about the poker industry, but lately he's just been over the top and saying a lot of weird things because he's not getting much traction anymore. A lot of things that he said before are simple to say, to be honest, to say, hey, you guys should charge less rate. Like everybody's like, yeah, charge less rate. Well, of course. That's easy to say when you're, if you're trying to be an advocate for poker, right? Or let's get more chips, or let's have longer levels, or all those things that players all seem to think that they want. So when you get people on your bandwagon, you develop a crew of minions, which he has. But lately, his arguments have been a bit silly. Like he's trying to bash on the TOC for the World Poker Tour, which has obviously been a huge success for us. We love it. We love the fact that we give our champion club members a reason to belong to a club, which, by the way, if he was a part of it, would be the greatest thing ever. So some of those things that he chooses to pick on lately are basically a bit silly, to be honest. But he's I think his heart is in the right place. He's not a bad guy. He is a true grinder. He's WPT's best customer. I like to call him our best customer because he's played more events than anybody else. So I'd love to see Alan win a WPT and become part of the Champions Club and get in the TOC, so he could experience all the things that all the players that were in it that did. But yeah, I mean, his minions are going away, unfortunately. I wish he would maintain the minions, but he hasn't been able to do that lately because his arguments have become less and less relevant. But no, Alan, is what it is. He's got his relationship with Raymond Davis. I don't think that'll ever go away. So I think he'll be happy. He's still traveling quite a bit and playing a lot of events, and he's got all his backers out there behind him. So good luck to you, Alan.
Yeah, it's like the boy that cried wolf. You just can't take him seriously after a while.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I do, like I said, I think his heart's in the right place most of the time.
Okay, good. Excellent to hear. I'm glad you handle all his grievances very professionally and you don't let it get to you. I know some of them just seem like needles, like he just has it out for you for some reason, and he'll just nitpick anything that isn't curtailed perfectly to his agenda.
Yeah, the new troll is Joe McKeon, actually. He's the new big troll in poker for me, anyway.
Oh, wow.
Well, I like Joe, and I think that he's great. I always try and get him to become more of an ambassador for the game, and he basically gives me the finger. And he's always trying to pick on everything that I do, which is fine. But the problem with that is that sometimes people see that and go, "Oh my gosh, the world champion and Matt are in an argument and don't like each other." But I think we do like each other. I like Joe. I'd love to see him play more of my events, but he has some issues, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. No one's perfect, and not everybody can be grateful for the luck of winning a main event and be an ambassador in such a position. I know I'd do my best if I ever won any major tournament ever, but until that day, I'm gonna promote poker through PokerTube YouTube channel, vlogging on Jeff Boski account on YouTube. I want to thank Matt for joining us today on this live stream. It will be posted on PokerTube's website in the upcoming weeks. You can follow Matt on Matt Savage on Twitter. He's more than happy to answer any rule questions. You can talk to the man yourself. Don't be shy, and make sure you say hi to him when you play live events in California and World Poker Tours all across the country.
And world. We're going international. So we're over in China this week. So and Latin America soon. So obviously we're trying to grow the game and through the World Poker Tour and making it player friendly. I think that's important. And we really try to do that in the World Poker Tour and all the events I run. I think that this year's TDA Summit is going to be way more focused on bringing the fun back and trying not to be too tough on the rules. But I'm glad you brought that up earlier, and thanks a lot for having me on.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. If you're going to a tournament and you see Matt Savage is a part of it, if he's running it, that's just an added bonus. Things are going to be run right. There's not going to be any color up errors. There's not going to be any bad rulings. Matt Savage is there to make things right, make it player friendly, and just make sure you have a good time. Thanks again, Matt. It was a pleasure.
You got it. Talk to you soon, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.